Hi, and welcome to the Access Direct Opening Bell, your essential pre-market podcast. In just minutes, get key global updates, overnight trends, and market-moving factors that set the tone for the day. Whether you're a seasoned trader or just someone tracking the markets, this is your go-to briefing to stay ahead at all times. So let's dive straight in.
Good morning on a Monday, and we will start with US stocks, which were hit by a wave of volatility as President Trump threatened to impose aggressive tariffs on the European Union and Apple. The S&P 500 ended 0.7% down, while the Dow and the Nasdaq 100 lost 0.6% and 0.9% respectively. Trump said he's not looking for a deal with the European Union and that tariffs would therefore be set at 50% effective 1st of June. On Apple, the president said 25% tariffs would apply if they manufacture their products outside the US. Most strategists are considering the threats as negotiation tactics and are of the view that they are unlikely to go through. In markets, the VIX jumped nearly 10%, the dollar fell to its lowest level since December 2023, the 10-year yield ended around 4.5%, gold rose to an over 3-week high of $3,360 an ounce, and oil also ended up after 3 days of losses as hedge funds' net bullish bets climbed to the highest in 7 weeks. Meanwhile, the rupee gained the most in 2 years on a sliding dollar. The currency finished the day nearly 1% higher at 85.21. Meanwhile, the RBI paid a record dividend of 2.7 lakh crores to the government, and strategists expect the amount to keep the fiscal deficit in check. Coming to stocks, the Nifty rose 243 points to close out the week at 24,853. The India VIX was mostly flat. The NSE 500 small cap and mid cap indexes also gained. Brent was positive with nearly 70% of the NSE 500 members rising. 11 of the 12 NSE sectors gained, with FMCG and private banks climbing 1.6% and 1.1% respectively. Pharma was the sole loser on the day as it slipped 0.4%. The best and worst performers on the Nifty were Eternal, which rose 3.7%, and Sun Pharma, which fell 2%. Technically speaking, an important swing low seems to have been formed at 24,462, but bulls need to break through the 24,946 to 24,974 area to all but end the recent dip. Should this happen, the next hurdle zone lies between 25,000 and 25,436. Meanwhile, provisional data showed that foreigners invested around 1,800 crores on Friday. That sends the month-to-date number to 12,200 crores. On to derivatives, and the Nifty's put-call ratio went to 1.09 from 0.79, while that of the Bank Nifty went to 0.9 from 0.79. More Nifty puts were added relative to the addition seen in calls, and implied volatility rose 10 basis points, which meant that on a net basis, market participants turned slightly cautious. Options concentration for the 29th May expiry continues to show that the trackable range sits between 24,500 and 25,000, with the addition seen at the 24,800 strike, the biggest for puts, and that seen at the 25,800 strike, the largest for calls. Volatility traders have paid a bigger premium for 1% out of the money puts than that for 1% out of the money calls, which means they expect downside volatility. Speaking net index options activity, foreigners and prop traders turned bullish, while retail investors flipped to bearish. Meanwhile, foreigners' net short positioning in index futures fell 1,000 contracts to 54,000 contracts in what was a slight drop in bearish bets. Looking forward to today's session, the GIFT Nifty was up 35 points at 7 a.m. Asian equities were mostly in the green. US index futures were up an average of 0.9%. Coming to stocks, Polycab, Vedanta and Kalyan Jewellers were at horizontal support, while Blue Dart and RR Cable were at horizontal resistance. Ajanta Pharma and Asian Paints were at trendline support, while Hindustan Zinc, JP Power and Root Mobile were at trendline resistance. Talking breadth, 85%, 79% and 47% of stocks in the NSE 500 were above their 50, 100 and 200-day averages. No economic data is due from the US or India today. That is a wrap on the day's podcast. Please note that this podcast serves solely for informational purposes and should not be considered financial advice of any kind. For a comprehensive disclaimer, please visit our website. Thank you, and we will see you tomorrow at the same hour. Have a good day.
Investments in securities market are subject to market risks. Read all the related documents carefully before investing.